Okay, I will open the call to order, the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for February 26th, 2026. And roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Here?
Bentley?
Here.
Hurt?
Here.
Byram?
Here.
Hildreth?
Here.
Lair?
Here.
Selden?
Here.
Walker?
Here.
Yang?
Here.
And Matheson.
Here.
Members are entitled to speak during the designated open forum portion of this meeting, whether attending in person or via Zoom. Each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. If speaking on behalf of another member, additional instructions provided on the forum slips must be followed. All speakers must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning their comments. Please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating in this meeting, including during the open forum, each attendee agrees to and releases the Rossmore Walnut Creek from all liability for their voice and/or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purpose without compensation. Thank you.
Okay, just a slight agenda change. We'll be moving item 8A2, the transit RFP, to after item 10A today. Okay, and are there any changes to the minutes from our meeting from January 29th?
No.
Okay, thank you, Dwight. Seeing none, we'll say they're approved. Now I'd like to welcome Matt Francois from the City Council. Welcome, Matt.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. Thank you for having me again. My name is Matt Francois. I have the privilege of serving you on the Walnut Creek City Council and to be the liaison to Rossmore this year. You have a full crowd here, so I'm going to keep my update relatively brief. Since the last time I appeared before you in January, we've had a few council meetings. At our February meetings, we received an update on staff's implementation of the council priorities. And as I updated you last time, our council priorities are public safety, park and recreation facilities, economic development, environmental sustainability, and general plan update. We also approved the use of Recycle Smart funds. Recycle Smart is the Joint Powers Authority that administers the trash and recycling collections and the organics composting. When we recycle, we actually get money back from the recycle processing. So it's a joint venture. And that money, we use part of those funds to resurface the All Abilities Playground at Heather Farm Park and to do other related park projects. And those materials will be made of recycled content. So it's the cycle is continuing there. We also recognize Black History Month. Mary Taylor with Rossmore's African American and Friends we were pleased to have her and her friends to accept the proclamation, as well as American Heart Month. Coming up in March, we'll receive an update on city finances, our housing element, and crime statistics. As I reported last year, year over year, crime is down 20%. Board Member Bentley asked a good question about traffic safety and control, and I brought that up with the chief and the city manager. That's a priority for the city. The chief was able to give us an update and let us know during the holiday season there was an enhanced traffic safety program in place, and as a result of those efforts, we were able to see a decrease in accidents by over 20%. So we need to be vigilant and keep up that work, but it does pay off when we pay attention to those details. We'll be taking this in March. We'll also be taking action on a proposed rezoning request for a new Porsche dealership that'll be on North Main Street, and we'll be administering the oath of office to several new commissioners who volunteer their time. I started on the Planning Commission with the city and on the Transportation Commission before that. And the city couldn't operate without these dedicated group of volunteers. And 47 of them applied for 8 positions. And so we're going to be administering the oath of office to them on March 3rd. Just quickly, other happenings. We had a celebration, a ground opening for the Heather Farm Community Center and Aquatics Complex on February 18th. This is going to be one of the largest public works project in the city's history, and it's thanks to all of you for supporting Measure O, that we're able to fund this project as well as many other things in the city. The city council and staff were joined by members of the Walnut Creek Aquatics Foundation. Those are those dedicated group of people that show up at 6 in the morning at Clark Swim Center to get their daily swim in. And they've pledged to raise $3 million towards the cost of the new center, and they're almost already at the $1 million mark. And also wanted to point out that we were pleased to have our Measure O Citizens Oversight Committee member, Susan Hildreth, who's also one of your board members in attendance, and Planning Commissioner and Rossmore resident Molly Klopp also joined us. We had the State of the City at the Shadelands Arts Center yesterday. That was great city update by Walnut Creek Mayor Kevin Wilk. We got an update on the Shadelands Business Park with incoming Chamber Chair Angela Ashley, and a Walnut Creek downtown update from Tracy Dietland of Macerich of Broadway Plaza. Wrapping up here, wanted to make sure everyone knew about the Community Service Day. That's the annual day that happens every year. We've switched it. It used to be in the fall. Now we're using the fall to do a food drive, and the service day will be in the spring. Community Service Day will be April 18th. You can go on the city website. There's plenty of opportunities to volunteer. Arts, creeks, downtown, schools, all be in Heather Farm Park planting trees. We had to take some trees out to make way for the new pool and community center, but we will be replacing them at a 2-to-1 basis. So come out and join me, or choose another project that speaks to you, April 18th, and you can sign up on the city's website. Also wanted to let you know, if you're interested in music, that several tribute bands, not the actual performers, but tribute bands, will be playing at the Lesher Center in March, and tickets can be purchased on their website. We've got ABBA on March 1st, tribute band. Tribute band for Elton John on March 4th, Phil Collins and Genesis on March 7th, and the Beatles on March 8th. Again, a tribute band. And then also another fun event that I participated in, we have public art walking tours put on by the volunteers at the Bedford Gallery, and that will be starting again in the spring. The first one will also be on April 18th, which is Community Service Day, so you can, I'm not sure you can do both. You'll have to choose. But they happen every month, and they happen on the third Saturday of the month from 10 to 11 a.m. So it starts on April 18th, and then from April to November, basically, from 10 to 11 a.m., there'll be a public walking tour. There are 4 different tours of various different public arts in and around the downtown. And Bedford is implementing a pay-what-you-can approach. So it's a great event, and you'll meet some fellow residents and get to learn about some of the great art in our community. And more info is on the Bedford Gallery website. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Matt? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. We always enjoy your report. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. Okay, moving on, we'll have Todd Arterburn give us the financial status report.
Good morning, Board. And good morning, everybody. Full house. I know you're all here to hear me talk, so that's great. I appreciate it, the support. Obviously, so the Board, obviously, just for January, there's just a couple things, we turned the corner on, the fiscal year. So we now have our new budgets loaded in. You'll continue to see in your packet the consolidated financials, which are new, along with the cash flow statement. So, and we're also referring to what was formerly called the trust is now the capital fund on the financial statements. So I'm going to just hit top line on the RWC budget to actual. and then the RPM property management one, and then we can speak to a little bit of what happened on our balance sheet. As you guys know, and for everyone here, December, January, and February is kind of a big insurance pass-through, so it's getting those contracts in, it's booking that expense, it's collecting from the mutuals, and then it's making the payment. So, and this year, obviously, it's a 5-month extension payment we made when we switched our insurance coverage. So you'll see that as you look at like receivables and payables are higher in January because the actual payment went out for the insurance in February, right? But we booked it in January. So that's why some of those numbers potentially look a little big. It's just that insurance flow through. On our budget actual, there is one, if you look at the very bottom line, scroll down to the bottom, Jeff, if you can see the start at the bottom line, the 572,000 positive variance. That is a little high because if you look at the golf revenue piece, that is all booked in January. And so when we actually loaded the budgets, that got, as we're trying to work on our seasonality, that was spread out over the year. We're going to make a change to that one because it's a big number. So next month, you'll actually see that variance kind of go away because it's such a big variance for January, and we just didn't catch it until we actually saw the financials. So that'll be a big change. So that variance, even though it looks really positive, it's still really healthy. We're still positive, but that golf revenue will come down to budget and be corrected for the rest of the year. That also happens on the RV storage. There's also, it's a one-time charge in January, so we're going to do the same change on that. So those are really the big drivers. So everything really favorable, everything, no surprises, we're just a month in. We kind of talked about for everyone here, as we move forward and we only have 1 month in, but when we start getting into a couple months, we're going to do a lot more, variance analysis on the budget to actual charges, right? So looking for that for Q1. So that's all favorable. Jeff, if you can go over to the RPM one now, which is, okay. On the RPM one, you'll actually see a little bit of a loss in January. That is really attributed to the service revenue. You'll see up there billable services for both operating and reserve. We went live with field service management. So for everyone here, education, as we've gone through this big NetSuite new software implementation, the last piece that we had was how we process the work orders. That was the legacy piece that was still in the old system. We went live in October. We are still in the midst of that implementation, so you'll see those two categories. We just have some billables that, frankly, we could not get booked into January yet. So you'll see that correct a little bit in February. However, that's also one of those variables, depending on weather and work being scheduled. It's one of the ones that has a little more fluctuation out the year. It's not as predictable. So that's what's really kind of driving down a little bit of the loss in January, but we'll see that correct with the billable services. So that's really, there's not really any surprises this month, right? I mean, it's kind of right where we are, other those two variances I want to explain. And then also what we're going to do this year is where I have the capital fund on the agenda today. We will be taking that capital project and actually putting a budget into NetSuite, which we've never had. So we're going to try to, take our first shot at actually spreading those capital expenditures out through the year. So when we actually get to, go ahead and click over to the trust capital fund one. I think it was the very first one you had up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so on the capital fund, right now we basically, the income side is always see the membership transfer fees and the interest we make on the money that's sitting in the capital fund accounts. What we will see is when we look at the actual expenses and projects, we're going to go ahead and put a budget here for the first time for 26. And so once the budget is approved on the CapEx, we'll actually be able to look at the capital fund with a budget to actual, and then that will flow into obviously the consolidated and make that even more complete picture. So, yeah.
Okay, any questions for Todd? I just had a question. Thank you for the notations or the pulling out certain numbers and explaining them. And we had heard that you would be doing that throughout the process.
Yes.
And during the Finance Committee, you did that in depth, so that was great. Is that always going to be a verbal notation?
No,
or
it'll be a written one. This month, there was just those two. We're so early in the month, and we're just still trying to look at the budget to make sure we had the budget seasonality correct. You will actually get a written variance. Dan and Adrian, everyone on the Finance Committee, we talked about thresholding some of those, variances and highlighting the ones that are kind of out of the norm. And so that will come right back next month. It's just with this 1 month and the first time we looked at the budget, there were so many kind of, it was just kind of.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great
Yeah.
for reading the packet and having that in front of us.
Yeah, and the other thing we're really going to do too, now that we have all the financials now actually correct, they're in the system, we're actually going to also create more of a CFO report for you guys. We need to bring back, because you start looking at the capital, there's so much detail in those financial packets. There's a lot of information to be able to create a snapshot that shows fund balances, bank balances, the income statement, and key balance sheet numbers. So we are diligent working to create that snapshot that goes with that variance analysis.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right, thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we'll go to the General Manager's report. Jeff, if you could do that.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, residents. So the general manager's report in the paper this week, I was really focused on our town hall presentation and an invitation to attend that town hall. It is scheduled for Friday, March 6th at 10 a.m. at the Events Center. The town hall presentation will be focused on the planning for major capital improvements. The presentation will focus on projects scheduled to begin with the planning phase process in 2026. Specifically, we'll talk about and focus on the Dollar House, the multi-purpose rooms at Gateway Buildings B and C, food and beverage services, and some hillside outdoor amenities. So I wanted this morning to give you a quick overview of what that presentation on the town hall will look like. There's been information in the newspaper, but without some visuals, it could be a little more challenging to really understand what we're talking about. So this is a brief overview of what we'll see and talk about at the town hall. Certainly we'll go into more detail, have more visuals. And also, if you approve the contracts later in the agenda, we will have our architect there as well. So just some overview of what we're talking about. This planning process involving all of those amenities is something that has been in place and under review and discussion really since 2022, when the board at that time adopted the facilities master plan. Within that plan, what we called MOD at the time, now RPM, up at 800 Rockview, was identified as the #1 large-scale project that needed to be completed over the 10-year window and was really targeted for 2027 within that plan. The overall cost estimate at the time was about $12.8 million in 2022 dollars. Another key project identified in the facilities master plan was the Dollar House renovation. That was planned as a long-term project to take place over a 7 to 10-year window, and again with a project estimate of $7.3 million. The plan also addressed gateway enhancements under a wish list item, which really focused on expansion of the multi-purpose rooms. Those meeting rooms are kind of our most used, that size room, so being able to expand those. And then also food and beverage services here at Rossmore, which was further expounded on during our food and beverage study here just the last couple of years. Go ahead, next one. All of this was really backed by, at the time, the sale of property that RWC owns at 1220 Rossmore Parkway, formerly known as the Medical Center. That property was listed for sale and actually in escrow back in 2022. It did fall out of escrow after about 12 months, and as a result of that, RWC retained the money that was in the escrow account of about $1.4 million for breach of contract by the buyer. The board put those funds into our capital fund really as a dedicated resource for completing studies and so forth, and those resources will be used to fund the studies that were under consideration currently. Go ahead. The Gateway renovation project, just a summary of all of the things we're talking about. Again, it was based on the facilities master plan beginning in 2022. We have done extensive studies since in looking at opportunities for what we can do in terms of a replacement for the 800 Rockview. We looked at, can we rebuild that in place? But really, up at 800, that is our corporation yard. You have resident interface with corporation yard functions. We have our shop there. We take deliveries there. We have a fueling station there. It is not a good interaction. Plus, parking is pretty limited. We looked at what if we used the property at 1220 Rossmore Parkway and made that more of a central spot for replacing 800, and also add to it all of the RWC administrative offices and create one location where residents can come and receive services. That ended up being extremely costly, especially because we wouldn't have the resources from the sale of that property to help fund it. Go ahead. So in the end, we looked at a gateway renovation as really the most cost-effective and strategic solutions. It keeps all of the administrative options securely inside the gate. It maximizes use of existing facilities. And more importantly, it enables progress on other projects that we talked about, the Dollar Clubhouse, enhanced meeting spaces, expanded food and beverage services. It really allows us to create very specific resident hubs of activity at Dollar, at Gateway, where there is a number of services, activity spaces, social gathering spaces. Go ahead. So the implementation and timing approach of this, really we are just starting with phase one, and that is the design phase. We're looking at Dollar House renovations, multi-purpose room conversion, Gateway buildings, B and C, converting that to administrative offices, centralized service counters, which I'll talk about in a second, a dedicated board meeting room for RWC, but for all of the mutuals that meet monthly, one centralized space that is dedicated for those meeting rooms. And then, as we've been talking about, addition of food and beverage opportunities. Phase two, if we move into that phase, would be development of construction drawings. And then phase three would be construction, and that would be done in a phased approach where you're looking at Dollar House first, then you move to the multi-purpose rooms, then to the other portion of Gateway in an effort to really limit any type of impact on existing amenities here. Okay, go ahead. So some of the implications and funding approach, I think it's important to note that when we're talking about capital, we're not talking about your monthly coupon. This is all funded by our capital fund. The preliminary estimate for the scale and scope of this is 15 to 18 million. But keep in mind, we don't have any type of final designs to base that on right now, so that obviously is a placeholder. Once we have final designs, it will include looking at cost estimates. The funding source, as I mentioned, the 1220 Rossmore Parkway is a property that is currently in escrow for sale. It has some existing loans against that. If we pay those loans off, the net proceeds would be around $8 million. So we would use those resources plus a new takeout loan that would replace our existing loans. It would allow us to do this really without impacting our current capital projects and our capital fund, because our principal we're paying on our current loans would be about equivalent to what this new loan would look like. So we would be able to continue our capital program. Also, it wouldn't impact our existing efforts. Go ahead. So more specifically, what are we talking about? So Dollar Clubhouse, this is a clubhouse, the original building on the property, built in 1933. It is on the National Historic Registry of Historic Places. Go ahead. It was converted really to a clubhouse in the 1960s as the first amenity here in Rossmore. This is what it pretty much looks like today. You will see on the one side, there's the garden room, and then there's space that's not really utilized, office, storage, a old kitchen area. And then on the other side, we have the Ivy room, the chess room, and we call it the solarium, but it's listed here as the Stanley room. Go ahead. Upstairs is some significant space. However, there is no accessible means to get there. There's no elevator. So really it is difficult to program that space, although it is used somewhat today, but could be really enhanced with accessibility to the upper floor. You'll note on the one side where it says Railroad Club and Historical Society, none of that space is currently utilized. Sun deck area is not utilized. So there's a lot of space here that has potential to be converted. Go ahead. If you look at potential spaces available here, you're looking at on the right-hand side where it says meeting room, a large square. That area is where the train station or where the garden room currently is. That could be a larger meeting room. You have other very specific places, but you also have areas that could serve as a lounge, as gathering areas, as resident hubs of activity. You have very specific indoor-outdoor spaces that could be utilized. So this overall area has a lot of potential for enhanced services and resident activity. It also has a kitchen that could be converted and utilized as more of a service cafe to service the lounge areas, to service the meeting rooms. Go ahead. If you look at upstairs, you can create access with the addition of an elevator. You make spaces currently not available more accessible and something that could be utilized. Okay, let's go on. And then, so these are just some design inspirations. It shows you a little bit of what a cafe could look like, what meeting rooms could look like. As a historic building, we would need to respect and work with the very specific design guidelines and building code, but the interior spaces could be designed with very meaningful gathering locations. Okay, go ahead. At Gateway, we're talking about currently building F, which is the multi-purpose rooms. Go ahead. Today they look like this. There's multi-purpose rooms 1 through 3. They have some storage areas. They have off of multi-purpose room 1, a small kitchen. Same with off of multi-purpose room 3. There's some storage areas. These are utilized for a lot of medium to small functions from clubs and from private residents. Go ahead. If this was converted to a proposed library and computer lab, these are extremely valuable and important functions here at Gateway as part of the central hub that Gateway services. Retaining these at Gateway and looking at how we can repurpose that area into a potential new library with about the same square footage, computer lab with a little bit more square footage, all of the area totally redone. This is, again, illustrative. This isn't final plans. The process would involve meeting with the library club, meeting with the computer lab club, and going through a design process with those clubs to get very specific information on functionality, on design elements that are needed, and so forth. They would look at other existing libraries. This is just to give some illustration of what is possible, not that this is a final design. These are some just design inspirations that you might consider within a new library. So it's not just taking bookshelves and moving them over to an existing space. It is designing them as gathering spaces, as real purposeful, resident hubs of activity here at Gateway. Go ahead. The other portion that we're looking at is the existing Gateway Building B and C. That is the building with the Oak Room, the Redwood Room, the existing library, and then the building behind it where there's some existing administration services and a boardroom. Go ahead. Keep going. If you look at those spaces, the idea is to create a centralized area where you can have mutual meetings in a dedicated boardroom that serves all of those needs. Instead of those being spread out throughout the valley at different locations, you centralize that. That frees up other meeting room spaces. You have a central hub where you have a dedicated counter for service, where you can go and get an RFID tag, you can go get your concert tickets, you could submit your plans for resales and alterations. All of those services that are kind of split between multiple locations would take place in one central spot. It would have new food and beverage opportunities that would be designed so it has both indoor, outdoor service. Again, another hub of activity for residents. And then by consolidating all of our administrative services, it provides more efficiency so that there's better service for the residents. Again, this is illustrative right now. All of these designs are subject to change based on working with interest groups and so forth. Okay, go ahead. Again, just some design inspirations. If you look at the top at what a dedicated boardroom may look like for all of those mutual functions, what a food and service type of cafe counter service may look like, and then again, focusing on a central reception desk where all of your needs could be met in one location. Go ahead. So this is what we'll be going over at the town hall. I know there is a great deal of interest based on the folks here today. So this is the beginning of the process. This is all illustrative of what is possible. Actual designs as we work through the process over the next lengthy period will be based on input from user groups. And this is something that is a multi-year process. This isn't something that is going to take place and start construction anytime in the next few months. This is something that would take place over a significant period of time. So we're just getting started. Please join us and learn a little bit more as we continue through the process.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff at this moment? I'll remind you, we're going to be talking about the RFP coming up. So, Dwight.
Jeff, could you identify perhaps a little more of a timeline, because this is an extended project?
Absolutely. So timeline, you have a design process that will take several months, and it'll take as long as it kind of needs to focus in on final designs. That process will involve working with user groups, working with the city, working with the historical review board, all of those elements. Once you have that, then you start a very lengthy process on developing construction drawings that can go through the city for permits. The process as conceived right now would start with construction at dollar. So that may take place sometime next year if everything proceeds in a fairly succinct process. Construction takes a significant amount of time. Then you're on to multi-purpose rooms, again, a fairly lengthy process, and then on to the Gateway buildings B and C. you're looking at a 2 to 3 year overall type of timeline. Again, depending on how the process proceeds, that could go one way or the other quite a bit.
Jeff, since space would be made available where RPM is right now, is there any plan how to use that additional space in the corporation yard?
Very, very preliminary, but there are some opportunities. One that is our corporation yard, so we want to maintain that as our service center for our shop, for fueling, for our construction place. But we may have some opportunity to lease out some space to existing vendors as a revenue source as well. But quite a bit of study still needs to be done on that.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Moving on, we'll go to Members Forum. I just want to announce that we have a lot of speakers today, and we also have a very packed agenda. So if someone before you says the same comment, you don't have to, but if you could consider giving your time, that would be great. Speakers have 2 minutes, and we'll be watching that clock pretty closely. Okay, Mary.
Thank you. We are pleased to have so many speakers today. What I'd like to do is name the first speaker and have them step to the podium, and also name the speaker after them to move toward the podium so that we can make this as efficient and comfortable as everybody. Our first speaker is Giselle Huff, and she'll be followed by Joanne Lockyer.
Losing my hearing.
I will also add that please have the mic about two inches from your mouth.
My name is Giselle Huff, and I live at 600 California Drive, number 3. My name is My name is Giselle Huff, and I reside at 600 California Drive, number 3. I'm a 2-year resident of Rossmore. I'm here to speak about the upheaval that you are proposing. And I want to state that, to me, this entire charade is in the exclusive service of the RWC, and the residents be damned.
Hang on just a minute.
I'm sorry that your current administrative setup is inconvenient, but hey, you work for us. It's all well and good to describe this shuffling around at various locations, but we know that when you do these incredible renovations, it always takes longer than planned and always costs a great deal more than proposed. The Gateway is more than the sum of its rooms, but a place where the spirit of Rossmore is expressed on a daily basis, from the jigsaw puzzles that represent a community effort to the piano playing, dancing, and casual meetings in the very pleasant space that occur there.
That is time.
I'm out of time? Well, I lost some time because of the mic. So I just want to read the last.
I understand, but I did restart the timer, so that is time. Thank you.
Move it here, not there.
Our next speaker is Joanne Lockyer and will be followed by Dylan Miles.
I'm Joanne Lockyer. I've lived in Rossmore since 2012, and I am one of the 40 volunteers who work in the library.
I'm sorry, Joanne, could you give your address?
Oh, sorry, 3450 Tice Creek Drive, number 6. The room where the library resides was specifically designed when Gateway was being constructed for the library. The high windows provide a lot of wall space for books. It has a cathedral-like feeling. It is a sacred space where Rossmore residents gather, not just for books, but also for the friendly, helpful, and relaxed atmosphere. If you have never been to the library, you would not understand, as do our 4,000 plus active patrons, how important this intellectual and social space is to our residents. It is a gathering place that is peaceful, fun, educational, and inclusive for our average of 450 visits per week or 1,800 per month. Realtors bring prospective buyers into the library often. They are always impressed that Rossmore has a library of its own. If I were a realtor, I would be reluctant to take clients back to the far end of Gateway to the ersatz double-wide former MP rooms where there is no foot traffic and no one ever goes. Having said all this, it's all really moot. The Rossmore Library cannot exist in a fraction of its current space. The library needs meeting space for our 40 volunteers, as well as storage space for the hundreds of donated books which are sold to help fund the library operations. There is nothing that could be done to the MP rooms that would make that space adequate for our current operations. Gateway is the crown jewel of Rossmore, a gathering place. The library is a cornerstone of our community, and it should be at Gateway.
Our next speaker is Dylan Miles. Would you please state your address here in Rossmore? Mm-hmm. And the following speaker will be Jan Perseta, read by Deborah.
I live at 1508 Golden Lane, number 1. I'm in Mutual 1, and I just recently moved here. And the reason I moved here is because there's big community. I really, really wanted community. And Gateway is the town center. It is the hub of our community. It is where I can take an art class, go to a meeting, go to the library, see a performance, and in between that, I can run into friends, make new friends. It is like a town center. I do not need admin to be here. I don't care if admin is centralized or not. I care that the community is centralized. This is our home. This is where we live. And this is where we create connections. And we need intentional space for that. We do not need to be spread far and wide. Please save Gateway. It is beautiful the way it is.
Our next speaker is Janice Sitter, and Deborah will read her statement. And the speaker after that will be Judy Pords.
Hello, my name is Jan Cedar. I was a library volunteer for 10 years. During that time, I often saw realtors bringing prospective buyers to the library to showcase the facility. Its well-run, comfortable environment served as a significant highlight for those considering moving to Rossmore. This continues to be the case today. The library's present location makes it easily accessible to all residents. It provides them with a pleasant atmosphere to check out books, work on their computers, or simply enjoy a quiet, stress-free location to read. I hope that you will consider leaving the library in its present location.
Our next speaker is Judy Porge. Would you please state your address in Rossmore? And the
Good
following.
morning. I'm Judy Portis, and I live at 3355 Rossmore Parkway. My husband and I have lived here for just about 5 years, and I've been a volunteer at the library for 4.5 years. In last week's Rossmore News, there's an article about the possible changes at Gateway, and in it, Jeff Matheson and Doug Walker are quoted as saying that the changes that they are looking for in Gateway would provide, and here it's quoted, one-stop shopping for the administration. Well, one-stop shopping for the administrators might be a good thing, but it is not good for the residents. The residents don't need one-stop shopping for administration. They like the one-stop shopping that they have now, where they can go to the library, they can go to the Redwood Room, they can go to the Oak Room, they can go to the lapidary studio, they can go to the woodworking, they can play billiards and so on, meet friends and listen to music, meet friends and go to the billiard room. That's what they want. They are not interested in having offices all in one space because they don't need to go to offices all in one space. So I would suggest that the board listen to the residents rather than just the administrators. And I would ask that the library be preserved where it is. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carol Field, who will be followed by Kristen Lee.
Could the speakers in order line up here against the wall to expedite the timing? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carol Field, 925 Terra California Drive, Unit Number 4. I've lived in Rossmore for 7 years, and this is my first time to ever protest. I'm going to confine myself to parking. If you do anything to dollar to increase the need for parking, like meeting rooms, shifting meetings from Gateway to dollar, there will not be any parking, especially after the pickleball courts have opened. Those of us who park often in the event center parking lot during the day know that parking is already at a premium. It will be impossible with the current plans. So I urge you not to spend $157,000 on this particular study and to reconsider the plans for dollar as an increased space for meetings. It can be renovated and made more beautiful. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kristen Lee, who will be followed by Barry Bryan and Mary Ramos.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Lee. I live at 3006 Gray Eagle Drive in Mutual 68. I've lived there since 2021, and I am a third-generation Rossmorian whose grandparents lived in Skycrest in the 80s, and my mom was an original of Eagle Ridge. I'm the resident who contacted you regarding the sudden closure of the fitness center rooms with zero communication to the residents, and I am a just retired teacher librarian. I have given over 60-plus Rossmore tours to friends and friends' parents, as Dwight knows, and I always bring my tour recipients to the library, which blows them away. My mom and my grandma were avid library users, and I am shocked that the library is being considered for removal and remodeling. The disruption to services for residents, as well as the dismantling of a purpose-built library building to make way for administration buildings, does not serve residents' needs. I am heartened to hear that Jeff say that groups will be consulted regarding these proposed changes, and yet that did not happen with the sudden closure of the fitness rooms, which gives me pause. I hope that Gateway will remain the beautiful crown jewel of Rossmore for a long time to come. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Barry Bryan, who will be followed by Mary Ramos and Stanley Molesky.
Barry Bryan, 3874 Terra Granada Drive, 3C. The Gateway Center has been the residence foyer to Rossmore since its completion. The library and Redwood Room are welcoming facilities to residents and visitors alike. Hopefully, food service will return at some point to the recently remodeled kitchen facility. The large gateway parking area better serves the community for the facilities that are there now, and to turn it into an employee parking, would be a waste. To change the focus of Gateway's main building from a gathering place at the community's entrance to one large RWC governance building would be sad, and its possibly multi-year conversion extremely disruptive. As any builder will tell you, it's always better and generally more cost-effective to build from scratch than to attempt to repurpose. With that in mind, here are some alternative actions to spending $157,000 to study the announced Gateway conversion plan. Continue to operate the library, computer room, and Redwood room in Gateway's main building as resident-focused rooms. Let's consider the pros and cons of possible alternatives first before committing these funds on this particular solution. The current home to RPM's 55 employees and accounting's 22 employees is 800 Rockwood Drive. This building is overcrowded but appears to be serviceable. An engineer we spoke with suggested expanding this facility by adding an adjacent two-story building for parking and offices. In this age of artificial intelligence and Zoom, RWC should study ways to reduce headcount and footprint. We should maintain or increase room space available for resident use, not decrease it.
Thank you. That is time.
Our next speaker is Stanley Molesky. Oh, Mary England.
It is Mary.
Go ahead.
Mary, come on up.
Start my time. Okay?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Mary Ramus, 2145 Ptarmigan, number 1. I'll start off with I'm an avid pickleball player, and I looked at the master plan presented, and what I didn't see on any of it is where all the parking is. It showed buildings, but not in relation to parking. And the renovating dollar is not the issue. It's putting offices there and where are people going to park. I'm going to use the word MOD because it comes out naturally. MOD is a construction area up on Rockview and associated offices. That's where they belong. I don't go get permits every day. I come down to Gateway often. It's a hub for Rossmore, and it should remain that way, not be flooded with offices, because we don't go to offices every day. So my biggest thing is, did the 2022 master plan take into consideration the effect of the new pickleball parking and how that is going to affect all the offices? Like I said, I'm an avid pickleball player. I'm happy we've got that, but I do realize it is going to change the dynamic of parking, and I think that is a very important issue. We don't want to walk long distances. We want to park right near where we want to go and use whatever programs are available here at Rossmore. Thank you.
Okay, then the next speaker is Stanley Molesky, followed by Diane, and then followed by Louise Dibble.
Good morning, 3800 Terra Granada Drive, 2B. I urge you, when you are making decisions by both the board and staff, that you really consider being and make sure that you are being resident-centric. You may think that's obvious, but I've heard so many residents over the years, the 15 years we've lived here, that they don't think that that is the attitude of the board or many of the staff members. Second, the idea of these decisions is flawed. By making a primary criterion that everything be inside the gate, you have eliminated many, many much more effective and probably cost-effective decisions. And third, the idea of a one-stop shop isn't really in the interest of residents. If I'm going to have my RFD tag renewed, I don't need to be next to the building permit or remodeling center or finance. I was a county administrative officer, a chief business official for schools. All of those organizations have many activities such as maintenance, public works, finance, separated. And it's in today's environment of remote work, they really don't need to be together for our benefit. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Diane, followed by Louise Dibble and Catherine Boggs.
I'm Diane DeGolia, and I live at 3196 Rossmore Parkway, number 3. I started reading when I was 5 years old and have not gotten my nose out of a book ever since. I guess you'd say that my drug of choice is books and reading. So I go to the Rossmore Library every other week, and I check out 4 books. So you can imagine my distress when I read that the Rossmore Library would be moved and reduced in size. To give you an example of how distressed I was, I've lived in Rossmore for 13 years, and this is my first board meeting. I can't tell you how wonderful it has been to go into the Rossmore Library and more frequently than not be able to find the books I'm looking for. You know, you wouldn't think that a small library like that, and we do have a large community, would be able to service so well, but they do. And the volunteer staff are wonderful. We need to continue to connect with people as we age, and when I go in, there's always a welcoming spirit. So when I read that we might actually have a reduction in the quality of the service provided by that wonderful facility, it really did bother me. And then I read in the Rossmore News this week that our general manager said that the library be relocated and there would be modernization so that we could be better served. I've never heard a complaint from any of the volunteers there that they were in tremendous need of some kind of help. And as that ancient philosopher, I think it was Will Rogers, said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm not here to oppose change because of change. I'm here because I care about us being able to have a good quality of life. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Louise Dibble, followed by Catherine Boggs, and followed by Yvonne Arden.
Hello. I'm Louise Dibble. I live at 2840 Tice Creek Drive, Apartment 7, and I've lived here since 2010 and have totally enjoyed the amenities at Gateway, especially the library. And I think you all know by now how much we treasure and value our library, and so I won't go into that. I think the letter from Mary Chasseur in yesterday's Rossmore News says it. Gateway Clubhouse is truly the heart of connection in Rossmore, and the library is the founding member of that. What I'd like to do is suggest some alternatives. Move the offices into multi-purpose rooms 1, 2, and 3. Why not? There's much more room there for offices. There is not enough room there for the library and the computer room. That reduction in space that point has been made. My attention was drawn by a neighbor to an ad that just emerged that the Savers building is on the market. And you could buy the Savers building for about the same price as you can sell the medical building offices, and then have it pretty close. I mean, all your offices would be near Rossmore, and you would have lots of room for your offices. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Catherine Boggs, who will be followed by Yvonne Arden and Ron Francini.
I'm Catherine Boggs, 1156 Running Springs Road, number 9. I'm a second-generation Rossmorean, and I plan to be here for the next 35 years. And I think a number of you won't be. No insult intended. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And when you talk about cost for efficiency, I look at the end of that statement to be savings for the residents. And in the 5 years since I've inherited my place, I've only seen my coupon go up. And I have met many older people who are on fixed incomes who are possibly going to have to move out of Rossmore because of the coupon. And so efficiency is not equaling cost savings. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind. And then again, for what everybody else said about parking, the heart of the community, Gateway is really a great place to be, et cetera, so on. So I concur with everything that's been said up to this point. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Yvonne Arden, who will be followed by Ron Francini and Ed Ball.
My name is Yvonne Arden. I live at 2501 Pine Knoll Drive. I have been a resident for 5 years. The thing that brought me to Rossmore was the amazing amenities, both intellectually, socially, and the number of clubs. I went and did a little research on what the primary purpose of the board, and it said, the primary purpose is to govern the services that benefit all residents. If this is true, then how can this plan to take over our library, the Oak Room, the Redwood Room, be justified? It is for the changes that you want are for the board's benefit, not for us residents. Having been a literacy consultant all my life, reading and writing are key for any community. For us senior citizens, that library in all its splendor and glory that has been renovated to make it a beautiful, inviting place, as well as all the volunteers who spend hours making it this place for all of us to enjoy socially, intellectually. Why would you even think of putting that in one of those multi-purpose rooms? The other reason that we cannot go with this plan is that those of us who attend many clubs and meetings are constantly wanting another meeting place, and there is no room for us.
That is time.
Our next speaker will be Ron Francini.
My name is Ron Francini, and I live at 2613 Sakhalin Indian Drive. My wife and I have moved here, and we've been here for 9 years. I'm deeply concerned about the proposed relocation of the library, computer room, and Redwood Room. I believe the board is here to do what's best for the residents, to make our experience at Rossmore better. Prior to spending $157,000 to study a proposed renovation to Gateway that residents clearly don't want, I think alternative solutions should be considered and explored again. I believe the library and computer room and Redwood Room should continue to operate in their present Gateway locations as resident-focused rooms. The current home of RPM's 55 employees at 800 Rockview Drive may feel congested, but appears to be serviceable. You have explored other options in reconfiguring and adding an additional adjacent building, but I think you should continue to explore those and take that further. I think you need to continue to preserve the gateway rooms, and for that matter, all rooms for Rossmore resident focus use, not take away the benefits that we currently have. And I understand that we're having the March 6th meeting. Traditionally, a town hall is a two-way conversation. I sincerely hope that the March 6th meeting will allow residents to speak and voice their opinions again.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ed Bell, who will be followed by John Kawamura and Pat Shanahan.
I'm Ed Bell. I'm at 1817 Skycrest Drive, number 6. I've been here for 14 years, and I love Rossmore, and I love the facilities that we have. When I read the article in the paper last week about the changes that are proposed, I was very upset. Then I talked to my wife, and I found out she was upset too. We love the Gateway Center the way it is. We don't want to see it reduced to something that's not recognizable. Then we began to talk to our friends, and between the two of us, we've talked to more than 30 residents, none of whom want to see the changes that are going to be made to the Gateway Center. I strongly urge the board and the administration to put the pause button on, not to vote to spend $157,000 today. What I would suggest is that you find a way to poll all residents in Rossmore and find out how much support there is for the kinds of changes that you're proposing to do to the Gateway facility. I think there have been many people who've suggested alternative ways to change the facilities for administration. I urge you to reconsider those things. Personally, we've got maybe 50, 60 RVs up there. There's a lot of space up above the mod facilities. You could put temporary buildings in there and not create disruption while you build additional facilities for offices up there. So please, before you vote for this study, which is not in the benefit of the residents, but only really to the benefit of the employees of the Rossmore Association. So please, put a pause on this, look at this again, get inputs from all of the residents in Rossmore before you make a move.
Our next speaker is John Kawamura. He will be followed by Pat Shanahan.
Hi, my name is John Kawamura. I live at 1284 Skycrest Drive, Unit 1. I've been a resident here of almost 5 years. And I'm just here to speak that I think the library is a very, I use the library. I think it's a wonderful asset for us. I think it should stay where it is. It was built for and to be a library. And I think to move it into a much smaller, confined space is a mistake. I think the board and the administration here should be acting to support the residents, us, not someone else. So I can only implore that you should be here to not spend the money on things that don't need to change. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Pat Shanahan.
Good morning, Board. My name is Pat Shanahan. Good morning, Board and staff. My name is Pat Shanahan. I reside at 703 Terra, California, number 1, and I have been a resident for Rossmore 18 and a half years. I still work. Hopefully retirement is near future, and I envision using Gateway much more than I currently am able to. I'm asking you to do something, and that is to delay making a vote today. It seems inappropriate to have a vote prior to having a town hall. Many important points were made today. Community is so important to Rossmore, and as we age, it's very important. Going down to Gateway to the library, or sitting and playing a puzzle for an hour, or getting a respite from caring for a loved one, or having a place to gather with friends. When Creekside was first opened, there was the outside area in the building, but the area which has now been used for the restaurant, you could go and sit and enjoy a visit with somebody. Then we had a change with having the conference rooms, and you can no longer go into a conference room with friends that's empty and sit there and meet for an hour or two. And if Gateway gets remodeled, we lose that community. I encourage you to review the master plan and look at the impact that AI may be having in terms of staffing and the work that will be done in the future. The other thing I ask you to encourage you to do is to look at buildings. We are in a fire danger area. Do we want to invest money in renovating old buildings, or should we be looking at new buildings? Lessons can be learned by Southern California with the innovative things that are being done to build quickly and secure products. I again thank you all, appreciate your time and endless commitment to Rossmore. Please, please rethink what you're going to do.
That concludes the residents' forum for today.
I have a speaker over Zoom.
Okay.
Handle name Mark Falig. I am unmuting you. Please state your full name and Rossmore address. Mark, I've unmuted you. Are you interested in speaking? I see your hand up. Okay, you can email the board at rwcboard@rossmore.com if you're unable to unmute yourself. Okay, that concludes the member forum.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for speaking. We hear you. We hear what your message is. And I want to applaud those who came to a board meeting for the first time today. I think that's great. And I hope you'll join us again in the future. Now we're going to move on to the resident member committee reports. So Dan Ring, could you give us an update on the Finance Committee?
Good morning. The Finance Committee had our meeting on Tuesday, where we reviewed the January financial statements of RWC, RPM, and the consolidated financial statements. Todd's gone through those in detail, so there really isn't much more for me to add. We also discussed the MTFs. We are starting 2026 behind 2025 in both units, only 3, in dollars, $30,500. We also discussed the trend of rental units and lease immunity usage fees. More analysis is needed, which the accounting department is working on, but the trend is showing an increase in both rental units and fees that we're receiving, which is kind of offsetting the decrease in sales, but not dollar for dollar. As we just learned, Mr. Matheson presented a recommendation from the Planning Committee to authorize a professional service agreement with ELS Architect and Urban Design to complete the design development phase for 3 key components: the Dollar House, Gateway Building F, the multipurpose rooms, and Gateway Buildings B and C. After discussion, the motion was made, seconded, and passed to recommend to the RWC Board to authorize the General Manager to execute a professional service contract with ELS Architect and Urban Design for the completion of design development phase for Dollar House and Gateway Plus Building F for an amount not to exceed $157,000 to be paid from the Medical Center Deposit Reserve Fund. I just want to add that the Finance Committee is not supporting or not supporting that. We are saying that there are funds available, and if the Planning Committee and the Board wants to do this, the funds are available to do that. Mr. Matheson also presented a recommendation from the Planning Committee to add $80,000 to the capital plan for a transit study. After discussion, a motion was made, seconded, and passed unanimously to recommend to the RWC Board to include $80,000 in the RWC capital plan to fund a short-range transit plan to help update the transit operations. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for, Jeff? Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Dan. Now, Jeff. Jeff, if you could give us an overview of item 8A1.
Certainly. So this is an item that was before the Planning Committee and then before the Finance Committee, as was just announced. The proposal is to start the planning process, and many of the questions, concerns, comments that were received today are things that are incorporated in part of the initial study in determining the value for residents in moving forward with these proposals. So you have to do those studies in order to make a determination if you're ready and interested in moving forward. The $157,000 scope of work is funded from the capital fund, but more specifically from the reserve fund established from the previous sale of the medical center that fell out of escrow. So these funds were received as part of that and are being used to continue the study efforts to meet the interests. The scope of work will include analysis of the dollar house and design options, including parking. So that's not being left out. It will be included in the study. Analysis of the building F at Gateway, which is the multi-purpose rooms, and building B and C, which is the front area and the current administration area of Gateway. It will include work with interest groups, focus groups to have specific input received. It will include the presentation, town hall, and many presentations to the planning committee throughout the process. So this does not take us to construction drawing documents. This is the design phase where they are analyzing all of the opportunities with input. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Jeff? Janet?
So I would like to see the alternatives, not just what you presented today, but also could we keep the library where it is and do some of the other stuff you want to do? Can we just start by renovating Dollar, which we really, really, really need to do on many levels, and will open up a lot more meeting space over there. So I just want to make sure that what you presented is not the only thing you're talking to ELS about. Like, are there alternatives? Has anyone looked to see if the Savers building actually is for sale? I don't know if that's true. Anyway, I do want us to look at some of the issues that were brought up today.
So the initial scope,
If we could hold the applause during the remainder of the agenda, that would be great. Thank you.
the initial scope of work that ELS had worked on was evaluation of the existing location, evaluation of 1220, as well as evaluation of a site outside of Rossmore at the corner there. So there has been extensive study on different opportunities and costs and impacts. So a lot of that work has been done. If that is part of the desired scope, we can expand on that. This is not locking the board or the community into anything. This is completing the design phase process, and then a decision's made about how you want to move forward at that point. So taking this step doesn't lock you in. It really allows you to understand all of the capabilities of those spaces.
Roy?
I've been very confusing in this board. And first of all, the so-called 10 years planning is only focused on buildings and doing this and that. Everything's benefit to the architect. We have a lot of infrastructure damage. And I worked very hard with my previous president, Mary England, that we found so many things need to be improved for the safety of Rossmore. And we also see many wasted money in the past for patchwork, and they don't even know what they are doing. So I think today we haven't heard one favorite voice from the residents, and we are serving the residents. We are not serving the administrative. So I hope we stop this for the time being. Let's see what's going on. It's not going to lose any time because the ESCO wouldn't close until July 2027. We got plenty of time. And we should look at what else is more important to the community, to the people here, not administratives. They are all just hired here to serve us. Thank you.
Please, we've got a very busy agenda. Any other comments? Susan?
Just one quick comment that according to AI, the Savers property is for sale, $9.97 million. So I'm just putting that out there. But I would speak in support of going forward with this because I believe it gives us the opportunity to consider all the feedback we've heard today, and we may come up with a different approach, even though options have been considered. So including the Savers building, we have been looking for property outside the gates that could fulfill this service mission. So I feel like we need to move forward to have more information on how we want to proceed.
Okay, Adrian and then Ted.
Yeah, I find this a very difficult topic because we're faced with a number of issues. The MOD building, the RPM building, needs to be replaced. It needs something to be done to it, and that's been known for quite a while. We also find everybody saying there aren't enough meeting rooms. There isn't enough resources in that fashion. So we're trying to deal with that. Parking is often a problem. If more people took the bus, parking might not be such a problem, and that's why we're doing the transit study. So seeing if there's maybe better ways of providing transit. So all of these things come together. They're not simple, they're not straightforward. And I applaud what Jeff has done over the last while. He is thinking outside the box. He has come to us with different ideas. So I don't feel that we should be saying administration is doing things just for themselves. They are not. They are trying to work on behalf of all of us. It is clear, however, that this proposal, the way it is right now, the way it's just being presented, there are some issues about it that probably don't work. What I would like to be sure that if we do move forward with the ELS architecture, that they keep a pretty open mind about doing a variety of different things, because we've got to look at different options. We've got to keep the eyes open, as it were, to alternatives.
Okay. The people who are maybe newer to the board, or people who are newer to our audience who haven't shown up at meetings, I've been on the board 5 years now, and this subject of what we're going to be dealing with has always been a subject that we've been discussing, either in committees or at the board meetings here. We have exhausted ourselves at looking at places. The Savers building, yeah, it's for sale. Did we try to buy Savers when it was Rite Aid? Yes, we did. Did the landlord say, no, I'm going to put a 20-year lease on it and sell it as a full package? Yes, he did. That's 2 years ago. Now it's up for sale with a 20-year lease package with an option for more. We don't want to go into the landlord business because that's what would happen. If we got Savers, we become landlords and all we do is collect rent and nobody can utilize the building except Savers. So I want to make sure everybody understands all the investigative work that has been gone into this. This, excuse me, this is the next step. This is investigative work that has to be done. Whether you think, nobody can think that whatever we start off with right now is what we're going to end up with. We did an investigative work on the food program. Supposed to be 7 months, turned out to be 14 months worth of work to find out what is the best thing for Rossmore for the restaurant. This could be 4 or 5 months. It could be a year of investigative work before we get done. But if we don't do this, we are dissurfacing all of the members of Rossmore that we haven't exhausted every possible thing that we can do. So that's all I want to say.
Okay, Mary and then Roy.
Thank you. I'm in favor of the study because we, as a board, but certainly as residents here in Rossmore, need to know what our options are, what we could potentially gain, and as I understand it, there are no restrictions on ELS about what they're going to propose or not. It's a learning experience that creates options for people living in Rossmore, and it may be that the options are to keep things as they are, but we don't know that yet, and I would like to rely on information from people who both know Rossmore well and care about Rossmore.
Roy?
I want to make some comments on it. First of all, I received some data yesterday. The MOD's problem is delayed maintenance. The building itself has no problem. If they don't do the maintenance, that's caused the problem. And I received the evidence of it yesterday. I can show you guys. Second, I have a serious doubt because this architect firm, in the past 18 months I'm on the board, I counted, they have more than $1.2 million from all design fees on all kinds. Some are ridiculous, some are okay. So I do not see right now every resident we hear is against it, and we are still trying to do this. We are the board, we are represent our district, we are serve the people, residents here. We are not serve administrative.
Dwight.
So what's important to me is that everybody understand that this study is all about gathering resident input, and it's great to hear everybody's opinions today. There is no question in my mind that the Dollar House needs to be renovated. I mean, and that we haven't really talked a whole lot about that today, but that's a big part of this project. In coordination with Gateway is an important thing. Real estate is very limited within Rossmore. This board knows from all the pickleball conversations and these conversations that we are very limited as to where we can build. So in my mind, this study, gathering resident input, ELS did a fantastic job with the facilities master plan in 2022 and gathering and having focus groups and residents and town halls. And that's what this process is all about. And so I am in support of this.
Carol.
I'm also in support of this. We need to do the study. This is an investigation. It's not the plans that Jeff showed are not a done deal. They have to look at that more carefully. And maybe they're going to find that we're not going to move the library. Maybe they're going to find we should move the library. We don't know till they do the study. And we have the funding to do this study because it's in reserve from when we sold, when we had the medical center building up, and we basically took $1.4 million when they backed out of the deal. So the money is there. This is not going to cost you on your coupon or anything like that. This study just has to be done so that we can really see what can we do with the facilities that we have.
Any other questions, comments? Roy.
I would like to see this decision to be postponed for the time being. It is very simple. March 6th, we have a town hall meeting, and residents already asked. They want a chance to express their opinions. It is not just a one-way street. It is an openly two-way street. Once that meeting done, we'll decide next if we're going to start this study or not. Because you ask architect to do something, they did something for you, then you change. That money is down to the drain. We already paid them over 1.2 million. If they like, they can do some free work to get something else down the road.
I just want to sum up that, again, this is a study, and it's our responsibility to investigate options. We have needs that we've all talked about, room use. We have a dollar house that it's a money pit, okay? We have to investigate what we can do to upgrade the dollar house. Many of you will be called on through the library, through your club usage of these facilities. You will be called on to give input. I encourage you to do that at every stage that you're asked. They want to hear the opinion. We want to hear the opinion of how you use the facilities, how best can we design anything in the future. Again, this is not this funding that we're providing for the study is not a done deal. It's not building. It's just investigating. So I also am in favor of that. Any other comments?
I can do a motion if you'd like.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the RWC Board authorize the general manager to execute a professional service agreement with ELS Architecture and Urban Design for the completion of the design development phase of the Dollar House, Gateway buildings, and multipurpose rooms in the amount not to exceed $150,000 to be paid from the reserve fund? Is it?
Reserve, 157,000.
What did I say? 157,000 to be paid from
Capital fund.
Trust.
Not the capital, it's, we can say capital fund.
I'll second that.
Okay, Dwight seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Lair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes?
Yang?
No.
The motion carries.
Everybody. Next, we have the Golf Advisory Committee. Burke Ferrari, if you could give us your report. Excuse me, could you please leave quietly? We're still in session. Burke Ferrari, if you're here.
Good morning.
Hi, Burke. Thank you.
At the end of 2025, the total membership of the 4 golf clubs was 770. As of February this year, it was 622. The clubs are still following up on stragglers, and we expect that the number will go up. In addition, the tournaments are beginning in March, and most clubs require people to be members in order to play in the tournaments. A topic of discussion again at this month's GAC meeting was the fence around the pickleball construction. When the waterline realignment portion of the project commenced, the fence was moved from its original location further on to the 18th fairway. Currently, the fence is blocking direct access to the 18th green, and because of which we have been playing the 18th hole with a temporary green, which has the effect of turning the 18th hole into a par 4 instead of a par 5. And this has an impact on how players record their scores on that hole, which they must do in order to maintain their USGA handicaps. As of the meeting date, of the GAC meeting date, there was not a firm date when the fence will be returned to its original position, which would allow the 18th to be played normally, but we are hoping, fingers crossed, that it will be sooner rather than later. Any questions?
Any questions for Burke?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks very much, Burke. Okay, at this time, I think we'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back at 10:40. Okay, we'll resume the meeting. We're going to move on to board committee reports. So, Carol Lair, if you could give us the compensation report.
Sure. The Compensation Committee met on February 11th. Arnold provided a year-to-date staffing update and discussed employee tenure, open positions, and told us that overall staff morale is positive, which is great news. We reviewed the proposed meeting calendar and topics for 2026. The March 11th meeting will focus on benefit programs and a summary of the 2025 performance review scores. We reviewed and discussed the 2025 look-back report, including the performance review process and turnover rates, etc. All eligible employees received the board-approved 2.5 merit allocation. However, unlike prior years, merit awards were issued exclusively as one-time lump sum payments rather than permanent base salary increases. Finally, the committee received an update on union negotiations and the planned compensation study.
Okay, any questions for Carol? All right, thanks, Carol. Moving on to Planning Committee, Dwight, you're...
Good morning. The committee met on February 12th with a focus on the final 2026 capital projects list and potential design development project for the Dollar House and Gateway Clubhouse renovations. The design development project was outlined and discussed with the priority of following up on the 2022 Facilities Master Plan results. The committee unanimously recommended that the board authorize, as we have done, the general manager to execute an agreement with ELS. At the January board meeting, a new item was introduced to the 2026 capital projects list for a transit study in the amount of $80,000. This item was discussed at length, and the committee unanimously approved adding the item to the 2026 capital projects list and recommended that staff issue a request for proposal for a short-range transit plan. I, at this point, want to thank all the staff for their thorough and thoughtful presentation for items in consideration in the 2026 capital projects list that is before the board for approval later in the agenda.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Dwight? All right, we'll move on to the Policy Committee. Mary?
Thank you. The regular meeting of the Policy Committee was held on February 9 at the boardroom at the Gateway Complex and on Zoom as well. The committee continued its discussion on Policy Procedure P104.0 regarding flag protocols for Rossmore Walnut Creek. Questions were raised regarding the potential conflicts between presidential and gubernatorial proclamations. One committee member suggested either relying on the flag code standards instead of removing the word neutral from the purpose section of the procedure. Additional questions included how discrepancies between presidential and gubernatorial proclamations should be handled and whether suggested language changes should be reviewed by legal counsel. The discussion will continue at the next meeting. The committee also continued discussions of policies related to the facility use, clubs, and guest use. Primary issues included data collection and tracking. Current club and guest use data is inconsistent as some clubs provide full guest lists, others do not track RSVPs. The committee discussed non-resident use. The club membership is capped at 20% non-residents, but verification rules rely largely on trust. Further, resident priority. Since the access to the facilities is prioritized for residents, though non-residents participate in many activities, including fundraisers, and may in the long run, eliminate space available for Rossmore residents. Finally, guest management. Guest lists and occupancy monitoring help manage attendance. Standardized RSV procedures are being considered. And the cost and fees. When guest fees typically benefit clubs, not Rossmore. Understanding event costs, including setup and cleanup, may inform potential revised fee structures. The committee asked staff to clearly identify, improve data tracking, evaluate enforceability, and continue discussion to ensure policies are practical, fair, and administratively manageable at the next meeting, which will be held on March 9 at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom at the Gateway.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the Community Services KPI Task Force. Susan, your review?
Okay, thank you, Leanne. Our next meeting is this coming Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We'll do a preliminary review of the results from the room reservation and custodial services post-event survey. That was sent for a recent period of time to everyone who was holding events that were no fee, no service events. So if you got one of those surveys, I hope you will return it. We're also working with our UC Berkeley Haas Fellows on the framework analysis for KPI development in the future. Currently, Rossmore collects detailed data on a number of services provided, and really one of the focuses of the KPI task force is to how can we measure how effectively we're providing those services. Our last meeting of the year is April 7th, where we will make specific recommendations to hopefully continue this important initiative.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Susan? Okay, moving on, we'll go to unfinished business, item 10. Ann Matola is already ready. Ann, if you could give us an overview.
Certainly. So at the last meeting, we had the first reading of the capital projects priority list for 2026. At that meeting, we did have approval of the machinery and equipment budget and the RWC facility maintenance budgets for 2026. One of the things that we ended up kicking back to go for review through the Planning Committee and recommendation by the Finance Committee was a transportation study that was on this list as presented, but did not go through that review process. So we do have a separate motion, and Jeff can report on that separately. That was moved from the beginning of the agenda to this item. So this is the full list of the priorities that were brought forward for this year. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we can go to individual project sheets, and we also have the cash flow to look at if that was of interest of the board.
Okay, any questions for Ann? Again, this is the second reading, so we'll be voting today. Okay, seeing none. Oh, Dwight.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that the board approve the 2026 capital projects priorities as detailed in the agenda packet and recommended by both the Planning and Finance Committees.
Second.
Who did? Okay, Mary seconds. Okay. And any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call, please, Deborah.
Just confirming, I saw Ted as the second of that motion.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
It was Ted.
Okay, Ted beat you, Mary, sorry.
Just making that
Okay,
clear.
Ted is the second. Okay. We have no discussion. Roll call, please.
Yes. Omaji.
Yes.
Bentley.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Byram.
Yes.
Children.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Selden.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
And Yang.
No.
It carries.
Okay, thanks, Ann. Actually, Ann, no, that's the other Ann. It's coming later. Jeff, we'll go to item 8A2 about the transit. Could you give us that overview?
Certainly. So transit is definitely an item that has been discussed and top of interest at the Planning Committee. You just approved a capital plan that includes $80,000 for a transit study. We did present to both Planning and Finance. For Planning, we presented the proposed RFP for consideration and input. Their recommendation is that the board authorize staff to issue that RFP. And then at Finance, we presented it in terms of funding available and inserting an inclusion of funding in the capital program. And as you heard from the chair, that was approved as well. So before you, and attached in your packet, is the proposed RFP that will be sent out to a number of consultants to help us reimagine the transit service. Really, the question is, if you were to look at the dynamics of this community, the folks that are transit dependent, the folks that are helping fund the system, but what would get them to use the system? How would we best be able to serve all of the needs of the community given certain parameters? So that will be the focus of the study. It will involve community input, and our first task will be to identify a consultant to help us with that, and that's what this RFP is proposed to do. So that's what's before you today.
Okay, any questions for Jeff? All right. I'm sorry, Roy.
Yeah. I'd like to remind everyone, last year, the same kind of proposal that the management was against it. The reason was, if we do such a proposal, we might expose to a liability. And so I guess time changed and things change. So we are not going to worry about liability now. So I would like to remind everyone to think about last year, what they told us.
So just to clarify, last year there was funding for a proposed transit plan. We did issue a RFP. We did not receive any proposals back. We did receive one from independent consultant that we started with, but canceled that due to kind of a lack of performance by that vendor. So we are proposing a significantly higher budget. We will not include that in what we put out to the consultants in order to gain proposals back. There is no liability in terms of, and there was never a liability concern in terms of conducting a transit study to evaluate our existing system. So again, that's not part of this. This is issuing an RFP for professional consultant services.
Okay, Dwight?
So, and at the planning committee, a lengthy time of discussion was devoted to this because, as Adrian said, and I thought you would speak up, Adrian, but, we need to take a step back and look at this amenity that is very important to this community and be prepared for the future. And so this study is really important in that regards to do that fresh look and really serve our residents well.
Roy?
I wasn't against to do a traffic study. I just want to make sure that somewhere, somehow, we can make it clear before the study. Whatever recommendation comes out, by any reason we cannot afford or some other reasons we cannot accomplish, but we are excluded from any liabilities, because that is what they told us last year.
There may be some confusion. This is for a study for the transit operation. You just said traffic study. This is not a traffic study. This is for our transit operation, our bus service that we are studying. And the outcome of that study, the board, the community, the planning committee will evaluate recommendations and decide upon the best action for the community moving forward, considering a number of factors that will be identified in the study.
Roy, I just want to make sure you understand this is for evaluating the vehicles we use in Rossmore, the volume of usage. You understand that? Okay. Any other discussion?
I'm
Okay.
ready to make a motion if there's no other
Okay.
discussion. I move that the board approve $80,000 in the RWC capital budget to fund a short-range transit plan to update the transit operation at Rossmore.
I'll second.
Ted seconds it. Further discussion? Dwight?
Just a little confusion. So the RFP is listed here. Are we to approve the RFP as well?
Yes, the action really before you, it should have been stated better. This was the action of the Finance Committee to include the funding. Your action today we're seeking is to approve the issuance of the RFP as attached.
Then I will amend the motion to approve the RFP.
Good.
For the transit study.
And Ted?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamachi?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Ann Peterson, could you give us an update on My Rossmore?
I will. I'd like to thank the few residents that stayed for this. Thank you very much. So, before we dive into My Rossmore, I'd like to take everybody back to how did we get here. So, our Rossmore.com website was really designed for two audiences. First, we designed it with the What We Offered section for our prospective residents, for the folks that are buyers, those that were looking to come into Rossmore. And our For Residents section is for the folks that already live here. And in my 7 years here, we have packed an awful lot into that section. We just kept saying, oh, they need to know this, and we just kept jamming it in there until we got to the point that there is so much information now in this website, it's really cumbersome and difficult to navigate. So the marketing task force, recognizing this, said, what we really need are two distinct websites, one for each audience. And that's what got us to this point. My Rossmore has been redesigned internally by staff to really focus on the residents. We talked with organizations like the Activities Council and the Mutual Presidents. We had resident focus groups so that we could make sure that that website really is geared and focused on the needs of the residents. While you as a board approved financing so that we could hire a marketing website designer to redesign Rossmore.com to focus on those prospective residents. Now, the good news is we have launch dates. MyRossmore.com will launch on April 15th, and 2 weeks later, Rossmore.com will go on May 1st. We're doing that by design. We want to launch the resident one first so that we can really get our residents familiar with their new website before we replace Rossmore.com with the new one. Okay, so I'm sure everybody's curious, before I get into My Rossmore, what is Rossmore.com going to look like? So we are still in the middle. We're about halfway through redesigning Rossmore.com. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. We do have enough pages done that I can show you a little bit behind the curtain. So the really important thing with Rossmore.com is what helps Rossmore Walnut Creek stand apart from all of our competitors. What makes us different, right? So it's things like our amenities, the fact that we're in the Bay Area. We have safety and security. That's a big one. Our gate is huge. The low maintenance living. The fact that we're not just an active community, that we are really involved. Our residents are really connected and involved with each other. And of course, our natural beauty. So this is very prime on our homepage. The other thing, I was kind of interested with this when we did an assessment of Rossmore.com. Immediately, our marketing website designer said, do you realize you only have one page that talks about your homes? And they're right. And it shouldn't be that way. The folks that are moving in, they need to know what our homes are all about. Our co-ops, our condos, the single-family homes, the Waterford. So that becomes a much bigger part of Rossmore.com. We also need for our new residents to understand how Rossmore works. We need to be much more transparent. What does the coupon cost? What is the MTF? And what is the price of that? We need to be transparent about that because we want to make sure that the folks coming in understand what they're paying and what it's going towards. We want them to be invested in Rossmore. That's how you get them to be invested in the community in which they live. So we're going to be very transparent on this website about what they're buying into. And then when you do that, you can highlight the amenities and the services, what makes Rossmore great. We're also going to be very upfront with an FAQ site. My department happens to answer the same questions over and over and over again. So instead of answering them by email, we're going to now put it on the website so they know it up front. One of the things the Marketing Task Force talked about Rossmore is beautiful, so let's show them. We're going to do that. There are going to be photo galleries throughout this website with all the beautiful photos that show them what Rossmore looks like. We hired a media team. They came in, they took 13 videos that are virtual tours. It shows them a day in the life of Rossmore. It helps them to see our facilities and our grounds. Those are for the folks who may not have ever seen Rossmore and haven't been here yet. Give them a taste so that maybe they'll come and visit, because that's really what Rossmore.com is all about. Our whole point is that next step. Come visit, come by. So that's really the whole intent behind Rossmore.com. So that's your sneak peek. We will do a whole review of Rossmore.com before that rolls out. But really, this is what we're here for today. What is my Rossmore.com going to look like? So first, how did we build this website? We started with guidance from the marketing task force. They had a lot of ideas and suggestions, and that became our foundation. From there, we assembled resident focus groups to talk about what were some of the higher level needs that they needed from the website, but also some of the very specific things that they needed from individual pages. We also spent 8 months collecting feedback from all of the residents about the things they liked with Rossmore.com, the things they didn't like. If they could have a wish list all the way to the very top, what would you like from it? We asked for those kinds of things. And we really felt like we needed to take the lessons learned, the mistakes we made on Rossmore.com, assemble all of this together, and come up with a philosophy for what the new website needed to be. And the number one thing, it needs to be easy for the residents to use. But the second part that we heard a lot from the new residents that moved in, it's really difficult when you first get here to understand how to get around Rossmore. So we want to design a website that really can serve as a guide for a new resident coming in, so that they can go there and find the information that they need to be able to navigate our community. When we started to put this together, we quickly realized that you kind of throw the playbook out about what makes a great website. We don't care that this is not going to be searchable on Google. We're going to tell our residents how to find it. So it will not matter to us that we don't have all the bells and whistles that a great website has. What's important to us is that this is going to be a website that works for our residents. And the other thing is, once we launch it, that's not the end game. We want this to be something that will continue to evolve and grow. So as residents come to us and say, I wish the website had this, if we can get it to them, we're going to give it to them. This is Javier Roman. He's our web content manager. Javier is the architect behind myrossmore.com, and I mean that. I am not exaggerating when I say he built it, all of it. We did not go outside for any of this website. When residents came to us and said, this is what we want, Javier took that as not just a challenge, but I must make it happen. He literally built tools that you'll see as we're going through this presentation to make it happen for our residents. There would be times where I'd say, oh, that's really nice, but we can't make that happen. And a week later, Javier would say, I made it happen. So you'll see as we go through, we owe a lot of My Rossmore to the work that Javier did. So this is the new My Rossmore. This is our homepage. The number one thing that residents ask for is a menu system that is much easier for them to navigate, and that means fewer pages. So everything is going to either live in services and amenities or RPM and governance. So for example, if you click on services and amenities, you're going to get a box that has all of the services and amenities pages, and this is it. Everything gets consolidated in these few pages because, again, we want it to be much easier for residents to find things. Also on the home page, if you go to My Rossmore right now, that is the home to our resident portal. That's where you make your golf tee times. It's where you buy your tickets for concerts. It's where you make your reservations for your classes. That needs to still live on the My Rossmore website. So there is going to be a link for the portal up in our top menu, but also very prominently on the web page, you're going to see the resident service logins. That's where it says golf. That's where it says recreation and fitness. When you click on either the portal or those links, it will take you to the sign-in page. This is the current portal. This is the one that will eventually be replaced by Vermont Systems. That's the one that is coming later on down the line. That will be the one that replaces the golf tee times, the recreation and the fitness piece. It's being built right now. But when we roll out on April 15th, it will still be the old portal. So when you log in, you will still see the old dashboard. And for example, if you want to buy an excursion, you'll click on excursions. It will bring you to the page where you will still buy your tickets. So this part is going to roll out April 15th. There is one piece that's going to be new, gate passes. This is going to be the fun one. So gate passes, I will say I'm kind of leapfrogging here because you guys actually are going to be talking about gate passes in the next agenda item. If you agree to the next agenda item, this will be landing also on our homepage. Residents will click on gate passes and it will bring them to a login where they will log in with their email and their password, and it will enable them to manage their permanent guest list, and it will allow them to issue gate passes for visitors coming in the gate. I'm going to say this up front because a lot of people have asked this. This does not replace the current system. Yes, you can still call and put a visitor on the list. Yes, you can still go to public safety and update your permanent guest list. This is an additional option. We have a lot of residents who are moving in saying, why can't I do this online? We need to start to meet our residents where they're at. And so that means we have to start adding in these online transactions. So this is an add-on. This doesn't mean that we're replacing the old services. Okay, so going back to our homepage.
I have a question.
Sure.
Will the login for Dwelling Live be the same as your My Rossmore login, or do we have two different passwords?
There are two logins. What we are going to suggest is that you use the same one. If you have your email and your password for My Rossmore, make it the same one for Dwelling Live. We are also working with the computer center. There is a way that you can. There's a program that will allow you to connect those so that you have one login. They know how to do that, and they will work with residents so that you are able log in once to the two of those. You can go to your phone, you can go to your tablet, you can go to your computer, you log in, and you're able to get into both at the same time. So from the home page.
Can I just ask a question?
Go ahead, Dwight.
So portal, I don't know what that means to a resident. That's a web term. That's an inside term. Can we come up with a better name?
So I realize, again, we've done a lot of research with this, right? So we have talked. Right now we have really about 900 very active users on the portal. We asked them, what do you call it? About 850 of them call it portal. So I understand that you don't, but they do. So I've got to go with what they're calling it. The others were saying that they would call it resident services. So that's why you're seeing it called two different things, portal and resident services. So I know, I understand, but I got to go with the majority. Sorry, Dwight. So on the homepage.
The majority still likes MOD.
I know, but again, they'll get used to that. When we get to the Vermont Systems piece, we are going to talk about how we start to transition to what those real terms should be. But for right now, you only give them so much change at once, right? And so with this type of transition, we want to give them what they're familiar with. And right now, that's portal and resident services. So those are the two terms we're rolling out with. So on the homepage, what you're going to see are all of our sections as tiles. They have photos, they have their names. These, again, are what you saw up in the menu. These are what all of our primary pages are. And one of the things we heard over and over again from our residents is that they don't want to have to do several clicks to get to the end point. So everything is designed so that you never have to click more than 3 times to get to your final page. And in many cases, you only have to click twice to get to the end point. So what does that look like? Say, for example, you want to get rental information for the club room at Creekside. You would come to the home page and click on Clubhouses. That takes you to one page that has all of the Rossmore Walnut Creek clubhouses on it. You would scroll down to Creekside Clubhouses, where you're going to see buttons for rental info and reservations. If you click on those, rental info gives you all of the information for Creekside Clubhouses. You click on reservations, you get the reservations application. I'm going to anticipate the question. Can you fill out the application and submit it online? Yes and no. You can actually fill out the application right now online, but then you'd have to print it and get it done. But here's the good news. We are working to get it so that you can submit it online, and we're very close. The only piece we don't have right now is the e-signature part, but we're working on that. Are we going to have it ready by April 15th? I can't promise that. But we are super, super close. So it is coming. I hope it's ready by April 15th, but we are going to get to the point where all of our forms can be filled out online and can be submitted online. That is part of our phased approach. Okay, so the other thing that's on the homepage, anchored at the bottom, is our governance section. So we have RWC governance at the bottom as well as RWC mutuals. One thing we also heard is a lot of people saying, I can never find my mutual. Where's my mutual online? So Javier built a tool where you can just type in your number of your mutual. So say your second mutual, you put in 2 in the little box, and it will take you right to the second mutual page. And now, unlike our current website where all you have is a box for your mutual, every mutual has its own page. At the top of the page, you will see little tiles for all of your board officers that have their contact information. One thing we did change, you're going to see on all of the email addresses, it's going to say send email. When you click on that, it will open up a compose email. No more email addresses will be listed on the website. This is to help protect against spam. The other thing that is on the mutual page are these contact us boxes where if a member needs to reach out to the mutual board coordinator, they can put their message right on the website, hit submit form, and in this case, it would send it directly to Janeth. Mutual documents. This was another biggie with the mutuals. A lot of our residents talked about the fact, and our mutual directors talked about the fact that it is so difficult to be able to navigate and search through our documents. So you can still do it the old-fashioned way. You can click through agenda minutes, governing documents, and still be able to search them. But we now have the ability to go through and look by year, to look on the calendar. But Javier also found a way that you can click on the little symbol with the magnifying glass and get an advanced feature where you can type in keywords. Like, say, for example, you want to find out about laundry policies, or it was brought up at a meeting and you want to find out, is it in the agenda, is it in the minute meetings? You can put in the word laundry, and it will search through the documents. Sorry, go back here for a moment. It will search through the documents, and it will tell you where it is in those documents.
Anne?
Sorry, I got ahead of myself here.
Is it going to take us out to Assembly, or is it just going to present?
No, so that's for the mutuals. With the mutual documents, those are all going to live right now on the website. I believe, Jeroen, are you talking with the mutuals about trying to get them onto Assembly? So we are trying to get the mutuals to move over to Assembly, but we haven't quite gotten them there yet.
I'm just referring to that screen with RWC governance and the agendas, archives.
Yeah, we're going to come back to that. We're going to get to RWC next. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Okay, so this one, all of the mutual documents are living directly on My Rossmore. So when you're searching within My Rossmore, and you're searching right inside the mutual documents. One of the questions came up when we were talking recently with the mutual directors. Some of the CC&Rs are locked. Javier figured out how to do a tool where you can scan even locked documents, so you will be able to find within the locked documents the text. So even locked CC&Rs will be able to find keywords when they search. So there's certain ones that they're technically you're not supposed to be able to edit those PDFs. You shouldn't be able to search those PDFs. But Javier found a way with the tool where you can still scan the text and it will highlight the words, so you can still actually scan through and see where the words are in those documents. Okay, so on the RWC governance page, I'm going to start with the meetings. So on the meetings page, you will still be able to find the meeting agendas. That will still take you to Assembly. So you are still going to the third-party site for this one to view the agendas and the minutes just like you always did. In addition, though, we now have a new feature where you will be able, if you're on your mobile device or your tablet, you'll be able to click on the Join Zoom and you can get right to the meeting from your whatever device you happen to be on. If you're on your phone, you also can just click the call in to the phone and it will get you right into the meeting. We all know that sometimes the committee meetings are canceled, so now if it's canceled, you're going to go on your phone and see the big red box that tells you it's canceled. On the Rossmore Walnut Creek page, we tried to make some of the information a little easier to see. Here's your board, and you'll be able to see the view bios and, again, the emails. So it's all masked, no actual email addresses. It will bring up the compose box so they can email you directly. Our RWC resources, we put the high demand ones up very high. That includes the management. This is not going to make me friends with my coworkers, but now they'll be able to get to our phone numbers and our emails very quickly in case they need to track us down. And our governing documents are now all going to be located in one place so they can find the policies, they can find procedures and rules very quickly.
Wow.
This is my favorite tool, especially right now when we get calls all the time during the election cycle saying, what district am I in? Can I fill out a petition or not? So Javier created a tool that says, what mutual am I in? All you have to do is type in your property address in the box, hit enter, and it tells you, here's your mutual voter district, and here's your RWC voter district. Now you can look it up for yourself.
Mutual voter district 1.
Also on the page, we have our RWC committees. It will tell you the email for how to reach them, as well as the committee charters. Now I'm going to show you a couple of features on some additional pages we have on our websites. There are sprinkled throughout our websites some colored highlight boxes, and this is important reminders for our residents. So for example, on our transportation page, we're reminding them, if you ride the buses, you have to have a valid Rossmore ID.
Wait a minute.
So we're just
What if
highlighting.
you're a caregiver of someone who's riding the bus?
They get one too.
They get their own?
Yes.
Okay.
We are also, instead of putting information in paragraphs, in blocks of text, we're trying to highlight it out so that it's much easier for residents to see it and find it. So things like dial a bus. Here's the service hours. Here's the phone number. Here's how you can download the downtown route map. Again, we want to try to make the information much easier for people to find. Here's our contact us form. Again, you go to the contact us page, the message is right there. Drop the message in, hit submit form, and it's going to come to my office. So now the folks on my desk have a full list of here's all the different questions and here's the departments where they're supposed to go to. So we're hoping that we can start to minimize those questions kind of getting lost in the abyss. The phone directory, we've also tried to group the phone numbers by things like general info, resident services, and then when you click, it will expand out, and that's where you'll find phone numbers and email addresses. Clubs and organizations, this is a big one. We heard from a lot of especially new residents moving in. You can't just list a club name and expect us to know what it is. So what they asked is, could you include a little description about what all these clubs are? So we've asked clubs, send us a photo, send us this description, and we'll add it in with the contact information. I'll admit, This is the one we're having the most problem with because not all of the clubs have gotten on board. So we are going to spend the next month really kind of hammering home with the clubs. We need this information. So we're working on that. One of the other things we heard a lot about is, please, we need those phone numbers. We need to be able to get that information fast. So on all the department pages, the phone numbers are up top so they can find it quickly. Also, documents. No more hiding the documents. You'll go to a tile, you can find all of the documents so you can easily download them, or again, very soon, open it and fill it out online. There were occasions when we would hear over and over and over again, this is so important, we don't want to have to click to find it at all. Things like, what is the guest clearance process? So we're not going to make you click it to find it. You go to public safety, it's going to live right there on the public safety page. There are 3 or 4 of these that live right out front because, again, we heard how important that information was. Okay, so that's kind of a brief overview of some of the things you're going to see on My Rossmore. What's next? Right now, My Rossmore is completely designed, and we are in department review. We're sending all of the pages around to make sure that the information that's on them is accurate. Once that all comes back and we make all of the corrections, it will go through my staff to be proofed and to be sure it's functioning. That means every link works and that it doesn't, not work. Once we're done with that, we will implement the ADA and we'll test that. That makes sure that the low vision tools, the folks who don't see very well, are able to use the tools so that they can use all of the pages on the website. Then we're going to bring back all of the folks who worked with us in those resident focus groups and ask them to test the website, again for functionality, and to make sure that we checked as many of the boxes as possible. Doesn't mean we're going to have checked every box, but as many as possible for what they asked for as part of those focus groups. If you guys approve the next agenda item, we will implement and do the training for the Dwelling Live with the customer service. We will do the transfer over for the portal. It's going to go to a new domain, and then it will get connected to My Rossmore. And we'll do a soft launch at midnight, because we want all of you guys to be asleep when we launch this and make sure it works. And if it does work, then we will start promoting it very heavily in things like the Rossmore News and on the TV, letting everybody know, here's where you're going to go starting April 15th. This is going to be your new website. And then on April 15th, we will go live. So tax day will also be My Rossmore Day.
Okay.
If we already have a password, will that still work?
It will still work. Nothing will change. We'll make that very clear. We'll also talk to folks who have never used the portal about how they can use the portal. So that will be clear. So one other thing. My Rossmore's launch, it's just the beginning. This is phase 1. In phase 1, we've redesigned My Rossmore. It will have those existing resident service portals. We will be, hopefully, launching the access to Dwelling Live to be able to do the gate passes. That's phase 1. That's April 15th. What is phase 2? This summer, we would like to start the discussion with, again, resident focus groups about what we call sort of the communications phase, the micro websites for clubs and mutuals. This was the other part we heard a lot about, especially the smaller clubs and the medium-sized clubs. They can't afford or they don't know how to do their own websites. So can we help them with that? Javier and I have found a platform that can do this, but what we need to do is the same thing we did with My Rossmore. Sit some folks down at the table, find out what everybody needs, and find out what we can actually do with our service level. We can't give them everything they want, not with 2 people. So we really kind of need to sit down and talk about what are the needs and what are we actually capable of doing, and then come back and talk with you as a board about what do we actually feel is the actual right service level to provide to our clubs and mutuals. And then phase 3. This is where Ann Matola's team comes in with Vermont Systems. So late 2026, early into 2027, we will be rolling out Vermont System to replace the current portal with the additional resident services. So we'll replace the tea times and buying tickets and doing the recreation classes, but we're also now going to bring in things like the fitness classes and the personal training part. All of that now gets folded in, including the app part that will now be available. And yes, when we get closer to this, Ann's team will do a roadshow, and everybody will have a chance to see what that looks like. I know everyone wants to see it now. Please be patient. We are not a really simple community. We have a lot of clubs, we have a lot of departments, we have a lot of facilities. All of that has to be set up. It would not make sense for us to show you what it looks like if you're seeing what it's set up for somebody back east. You need to see what it looks like set up for us. So when we get later into the year, you'll have an opportunity to see what that looks like. So a year from now, when we're standing up here and we're talking about My Rossmore, you're going to have the complete package. Then, even then, we're not going to be done. My Rossmore will always continue to grow and evolve. That's the fun thing about websites, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so questions, because I'm sure there are some.
Okay, right off the top of my head, how are you going to, what's your campaign for getting everybody on My Rossmore?
When I say that we're going to blitz it, we are going to blitz it. We're going to start with the newspaper. I'm going to go on TV. That's one reason why we're not switching over to Rossmore.com. We're going to banner on Rossmore.com. Residents, this isn't your website anymore. Go here. Go to My Rossmore. I've already started doing road shows. I'm going to Rotary. I've been to the Connection Club. I'm going to the different clubs. I've been to see the mutual directors. I'm here today. I'm hoping people watch this on TV. We're just going to keep hammering it home until people say, shut up about My Rossmore.
So the banner on My Rossmore will have a link? I mean,
on Rossmore.com,
Rossmore.com?
yes,
Okay.
It will have a link. We have an actual top flag. It's red. It's kind of obnoxious, but we're going to use that so that, again, the residents see it.
And Adrian?
Yeah, all the things you've shown us so far are the website. Is there an app version?
Okay,
so
My Rossmore, you really don't need an app for that. It is mobile friendly. So you pick up your phone and go to My Rossmore. It will be mobile friendly. If you're on the phone, it's for the phone. If it's on the tablet, it's on the tablet. You don't need an app for that. Vermont Systems, the resident service piece, that's when you're going to need an app because that's the transactional piece, right? That will have an app, yes.
Any other question? How about trying to break it, Javier? You're going to have people use it and try to make sense of it, but are you going to test every field, alpha, numeric, all that kind of stuff?
So that's what I've been doing for the past month is trying to break it any way I can. Obviously there's probably going to be some people that try something that I never thought of, but that's kind of one of the good things about having the creator of it on staff is because I can address it right then and there instantly.
And that's another reason for bringing the resident focus group back in. We figure if there's anyone, you want the folks that are some of them that are technically challenged because maybe they'll think of something that we who are used to technology wouldn't have thought of.
Sure. Okay. Well, excellent presentation. We're all very excited.
So are we.
Thank you, Javier. Okay. I'm sorry. Next, we have Tom Cashin, I believe, talking about influx.
Yeah, good morning, board. Good morning, creator. I kind of like that. So anyways, I'm here to talk about, I'm Tom Cashin, Public Safety Director of Rossmore. I'm here to talk about influx. And the reason why we're talking about influx is it's here to help us have a new amenity. And that new amenity is called the Resident Gateway or Portal. Sorry, I have it as Portal too, so I was just trying to help you out. And so we are going to be activating that for all of the community of Rossmore so that they have this new amenity at their fingertips. So imagine this. It's Saturday morning. And I know a lot of people in Rossmore have only Saturdays. They have no other days of the week. They always have Saturdays, right? So Saturday morning, you wake up, you decide to sleep in, you're laying in bed, you're looking at TikTok, MySpace. Thank you. And then all of a sudden you get a little ding. You look down at your phone and you realize my guest, Matilda, has just cleared the gate. And you know, whenever you drive through the gate, it takes about 7.5 minutes to get to your manor. That makes you realize I have 7.5 minutes to get up out of bed, get dressed, put my face on, and make sure I'm presentable for Matilda before she gets here. That is coming with this. Next one. Imagine this. It's Christmas time, and you got a horrible gift from a friend who has access to Rossmore to come and see you. You can easily go on the website, like she said, and go ahead and remove that person from your guest list. No longer is that person allowed to come in Rossmore because they gave you a poor gift. Or it's your child. Okay, next one. You're at Safeway. And you're walking along, you're aghast by all of the expensive items, seeing how expensive eggs are, the milk, and all of a sudden you get a ding. You look down, and it's the repairman. And he's coming to work on your mutual today. But you never sent him a pass. You quickly press a couple buttons, boom, he gets an electric pass sent to the cell phone, he shows it at the gate, and he's in. Pretty cool, huh? Now, to Ann's point, you hate technology. I don't like that at all. I don't want to learn something new. I don't like change. No worries, no change. No change for you. If you want to call the gate and put in your guest pass through your gate, you can do that. If you want to go see Olga or Phil at the office and change your guest passes, or your guest list, you can do that as well. So no change if you don't want to change. Wow, can someone write that one down? No change if you don't want to change. No? Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how this is going to happen. All right, our rollout of the resident portal is very comprehensive. It will include Rossmore News, a blitz, as she talks about it, news articles, cheat sheets. Rossmore Computer Club has agreed to participate in helping our residents with the Dwelling Live portal, as well as a call center, and that's what we're talking about today is Influx. And I'll tell you a little more about that. To support our residents during the rollout, we propose engaging a third-party call center to provide the live assistance Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, to our residents and helping them sign up and use the Dwelling Live portal. We'll use them for approximately 6 months. Now, this contract is month by month. So, for example, if month 4, we realize not many people are using it, they're not needing to use it because it is really easy to use, we can cancel the contract at that time. So we're not set for 6 months. Then after 6 months, you might ask, well, then what happens if we still need help? Well, thanks to the communication department and Ann Peterson and her fine crew, they are taking that on. So now you will be calling them to ask for assistance with Dwelling Live and how to sign up and things like that. Some other benefits of this is our gate. So I'm sure sometimes you guys notice the gate is backed up in lanes 1 and 2, right? Even sometimes might even be all the way back that it might even prevent you from getting into lane 3 and 4. Very rare that happens anymore now, but it does get a backup. It takes approximately 7 seconds to clear a guest who has an electronic pass on their phone. If they don't, it takes 90 seconds to 120 seconds to clear that person through the gate. So if you just think about how quick this is going to be and how easy it's going to be for your guests and visitors, it's a plus. Questions? Okay.
Two questions. One, is there a thought of making 1 or 2 exclusive to QR codes to the pass?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So in other words, right now, you may have the QR code on Dwelling Live, but you're stuck behind somebody who doesn't.
Yeah.
And so there's no benefit to that at all. Is there a thought of designating a lane?
Yes, there is. We've talked about changing lane 3 to the ability to have a reader right there so people can use it.
That would
Yeah, absolutely.
Second question is, I submitted a guest list 10 years ago, and
I wasn't here. Sorry, just want to share.
But I wonder, I don't know where that guest list is, and is it still valid? Because now I use Dwelling Live. Shouldn't my old guest list disappear?
So when you looked into Dwelling Live, when you got access to it, it has that list should be in there. So
It was
would
not,
be
but
in
that was some time ago. So
Yeah, so whatever you had, we transferred over into the Dwelling Live portal. So that's what's there now. That's what's living there is what you submitted to public safety many, many moons ago. Now, a lot of people don't submit those, just so you know. And you are restricted to 10 permanent guests. You're not restricted at all. You have unlimited temporary guests.
Tom, I received through the...
Do I call people or do you, Leanne? I don't want to violate things.
We're tired. Go.
Okay, good. Mary. Go.
I received through a mail a request to update the guest list, the permanent guest list. Did that go to everybody? And why?
If you are using the portal, yes.
Okay,
It should. And that's supposed to go out annually.
I got you.
Yeah.
So in terms of the third-party call center, have you listened to them? I'm just interested in terms of, is it an English-speaking staff, or tell us just a
No,
little
it's
bit
not.
about the call
Just
center.
kidding. You brought up a really good point because when I did meet with them, I had to talk about that. They had to know what is our community, what is our average age, what are things that can help our community, and so they've been very good about that. It is English, of course. It's also neutral accent. People is what they use as well. And the other thing is there's going to be not only just 2 people on the proposal, it's actually 2.5 because they have a manager from Influx who monitors all the calls as well to make sure that there isn't frustration with the community and things like that.
And you're proposing Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Is it a cost factor? I mean, should it be on, I'm just thinking people might run into problems on the weekends. So is there an issue? Would you consider expanding it, or you think Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 is sufficient?
Yeah, right now we think 8 to 5 is sufficient right now. When it comes to time, if it looks like it's not, then we will go ahead and we can change the hours and redo the contract with them. The other positive thing is there'll be a mailbox. So on weekends, you have an issue, you call. On Monday morning, the call center, when it goes live, picks up those calls. They work through those calls that are in the queue, and then they call those people back. So I thought that was another really good customer service provided to our community.
So
Annie?
this is only to get registered for Dwelling Live? This helps?
And to use it, like if you need help using it, like you want to turn on that service to be notified once your guest clears the gate, they can help you with that as well.
So the main thing we're anticipating in rolling this out is that many residents that aren't currently signed up for My Rossmore, when they go to register and they enter their email, and it will go not recognized. And the reason I'll say not recognized is because they don't have a actual valid email in their member records. We may have a fake email set up for them. They may have put a different email. So in order to get registered, you have to have the same email that matches what's in member records. Why we think this will be a temporary thing is part of the process, they will be updating the email. So the folks here will be able to help them make sure that whatever email they really have is what is in member records then. And then once they get that, they'll be able to log in, utilize the service. So the initial push really is to make sure that people have valid emails within member records.
Do we have a motion on this?
We do have a motion on this. I recommend, or we recommend, the board recommends authorizing the general manager to enter into a contract with Influx for 6 months to provide residents with assistance in signing up and using Dwelling Live. The total for 6 months should not exceed $28,800 to be paid from the operating fund.
Okay. Carol seconds.
I have a question.
Janet.
When will this start?
Tax day, April 15th.
Okay, any other discussion? Ted?
I just want to make one statement on this. Since I've been using it for a little bit, my wife is still old school, calls in on the phone, but it comes up on here. And I get notified when whoever she called to get through the gate comes in. It's a really, wait. I'm not spying. I'm just saying that's cool. But there is another thing. If you have animals, you can put your animal on here, and if your animal gets lost, they identify the animal to your account and will bring it back to your house. So I just want to let you know if family members at my house are four-legged. So not Judy. I meant
Yeah, we know what you're saying.
little family members. But they're both on there and they're described in their picture. And they know who the dog is. They just pull it up and there it is right there, and they bring the dogs back.
Do they have to have an RFID tag, though?
They do on the collar, because sometimes he takes my golf cart and takes it for a drive, and he can get in through the gate.
Okay, thank you, Ted. All right, we have a roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thanks very much, Tom. Okay, moving on to item 11C. Deborah, if you could give us the overview of the election information.
Absolutely. So I'm recommending granting approval for the appointment of the inspectors of election and election inspection company to oversee the printing, mailing, and counting of ballots for the anticipated election of RWC directors. Additionally, authorize the general manager to execute a letter of understanding that delineates the scope of services to be rendered. So we have been using the inspectors of election for the past 2 elections, I believe, if not just the last one. The predecessor that we had used, Bellwether, I went ahead and got a bid from them, as well as TIE, the election inspection company before you today. They're 1.5 times cost as the election inspection company, and they also don't offer the website option as TIE does. So this motion before you is for approval.
Okay, so in the staff report, it lists the 3 different costs. Should the motion include the total of those 3 costs?
That's not necessary. You can if you wish. That's all been budgeted for under the operations budget.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion for that, or any discussion? I'm sorry. Okay, Mary.
Thank you. I move that we approve appointment of the inspectors of election and election inspection company to oversee the printing, mailing, and counting of ballots for the anticipated election of the RWC directors, and authorize the general manager to execute a letter of understanding that delineates the scope of the services to be rendered.
Okay, second. Carol seconds. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thanks, Deborah. All right, thank you, everybody. There will not be a mid-month meeting for the month of March, and the end-of-month regular meeting will be held here on March 26th at 9 a.m. And right now, we will recess into executive session.